We are live over on the Bleacher Report app and on YouTube. And what a great Saturday. First and foremost, what a great college football slate. Even starting back a few days ago, there have been so many great games. Now we get to talk about the game all of us have been looking forward to. We still have the Cotton Bowl today. We have so many great games. We have a ton to talk about, though, as Alabama gets their third ranked win in a row. I challenge anybody right now, and I want everybody to be as critical and objective as possible. Who has a better three-game stretch right now than Alabama? Taking down Georgia on the road, ending their win streak on the road, getting your revenge against Vandy, and before anybody tells me, oh, but Ty, it's just Vandy, it's not just Vandy. It's a good Vanderbilt team. They're going to give a lot of teams trouble. They're good on offense. They're good on defense. They run good scheme. They're very well coached. They have a quarterback who wants to win as much as he wants to breathe. Then you go on the road to Mizzou, a Mizzou team that statistically is near the top in pretty much every category. Run defense, rushing offense. This is a fantastic rushing offense that Mizzou has. Fantastic. From how they're able to block to the running backs they have. Their quarterback is a threat with his legs. And Mizzou is coming off of a bye. They had 2 weeks to prepare for Alabama, and they have a home win streak themselves. 3 weeks, 3 ranked wins for the Crimson Tide, and it begs the question, who has a better 3-game stretch right now? Who in college football has a better 3-game stretch right now than Alabama? I'm not telling you that you have to think Alabama is the best team in the nation. What I am telling you is that right now, they are on an impressive run. A very impressive run. We need to break it all down today. There was a lot to like in this game. There's some things we need to be a bit critical of, though. There are some things that Alabama needs to clean up. Absolutely has to clean up if they want to really be the team we know they can be. And that's where we're going to start. We're going to start with Alabama's offense against Missouri's defense, because this is a solid Missouri defense, especially against the run. I thought that Alabama had mismatches on the outside. One of the things I was a little bit surprised about, in a good way, is how effective Alabama was at picking up what Missouri was trying to do early in this game. Ty Simpson has been fantastic at diagnosing opposing team blitzes and beating it. In fact, I have my first question for all of you right now, and that's, is Ty Simpson a first-round quarterback? I think that the answer to that is an overwhelming yes. I think that the bigger question is Ty Simpson the front runner for Heisman? And I think the answer has to be yes. 2 ranked road wins in 3 weeks, 3 ranked wins in 3 weeks. He has 2 turnovers on the year. We talked last week about that interception. I wasn't mad about that interception because it functioned like a punt. You were in a position where you weren't going to pin them any deeper against Vandy, that is, than you already had them. And so you throw up a 50-50 ball. Either your guy gets it, maybe the DB picks it off. If the DB does pick it off, though, he's within the 5-yard line. I mean, it functions just like a great punt. I didn't care at all about that interception. I did love how he bounced back. Fast forward a week, he had the fumble. And that wasn't as much on Ty Simpson, because there is an area for Alabama that they have got to get better at. They have got to get better in terms of deciding who the offensive line is. One of the things we used to talk about over on the YouTube channel, which, speaking of, everybody who's watching on the YouTube channel, Tony, Joe, Dakota, Clem, good to see you all. Good to see you all. Happy you're here. One of the things we talked about on YouTube was that if you're coming into a season and you don't know who your offensive line is, that's tough. Because this isn't like the defensive backfield. This isn't like some other positions on the football field where you can rotate in and out a lot. You don't need the chemistry to the level that you do for something like a wide receiver quarterback relationship. Those reps in the offseason are big amongst each other. You kind of learn nuances about each other. But possibly the biggest relationship in football is how your offensive line gels together. It is week 6, and Alabama is still playing musical chairs with the offensive line. I don't love that. I'm going to be very honest with you. I think Alabama's offensive line, by and large, this is the best Alabama offensive line since we've seen, maybe since 2020. After that 2020 season, Alabama's offensive line took a nosedive in terms of how many sacks they allowed. And don't anybody say it was Jalen's fault. Bryce Young took a bunch of sacks. Jalen took a bunch of sacks. The offensive line wasn't good. Had good players, wasn't good as a unit. This is the best offensive line as a unit Alabama has had. Cam Dewberry has been fantastic. You don't hear much about him. As an offensive lineman and a DB, that's a pretty good thing. When we don't hear a ton about you, it's because you're handling business. Cam Dewberry's been great. Caden Proctor, I got a stat for y'all. If you watched the game, you probably heard it. Caden Proctor has more offensive touches over the previous 3 weeks than he does pressures allowed. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look at win rate percentage, Missouri had the number 1 and number 2 edge in the SEC in terms of what percentage they win against an offensive lineman in pass sets. This is a really good Missouri front, especially from a pass rush perspective. It is a phenomenal Missouri front. Alabama handled it pretty well. The only thing is that right side of the offensive line. Now, I'm going to give you the good, and then I'm going to give you the bad. We'll start with the bad because I always like ending on a positive. The bad is I don't think Wilkin Formby is the guy at right tackle. I don't. And look, it's easy for us to sit here and say that, especially today, because just like I said, this is a Missouri pass rush that statistically, when we look at how often they win, is the best in the SEC. I don't know that I think that it's the best pass rushers in the SEC. I think they're definitely top 5. I think they have 2 of the top 5. If you want to put it at number 1, you're not going to hear too many arguments from me. There are some great pass rushers in the SEC. There's some great pass rushers in the SEC. I don't know that I would put them number 1 in terms of, they have the best pass rusher. But in terms of winning rates, they have the top 2 guys. So this is kind of a tough week for us to just be like, Wilkin Formby. It's because he played a good pass rush. The problem, though, ladies and gentlemen, is this isn't a one-off. If this was the first game we've seen where Wilkin Formby was struggling at that right tackle position, I would actually be sitting up here arguing in his favor, saying, guys, if you were going to struggle, this is a game to do it when you look at how effective this Missouri pass rush is. The problem is it's a pattern. Now, that's the bad. I don't think Wilkin Formby's the right tackle. Here's the good. I think Michael Carroll is phenomenal. He had a few reps today where he handled some of the best pass rushers in the SEC, handled them as a true freshman. And remember, this was a guy that played guard in high school. Now he's playing tackle. He handled business. I think Carroll is your right tackle. Now, here's more good news. For as much as I don't think Wilkin Formby is the right tackle, he's a good guard. Like, I think you can be successful with Wilkin Formby at guard. And if you want to talk about the rep last week where he got beat when he was at guard, fair play, I hear you. But also, I think the rep he got beat on so bad last week was because of the musical chairs Alabama's been playing. He dropped back in that rep like a pass rush that a tackle would do, right? Or a pass set that a tackle would do, where he dropped so deep, the guy beat him on the interior. That's a result of playing musical chairs more than anything, in my opinion. I think Wilkin Formby could be a good right guard. The great news for Alabama is, personally, I think Michael Carroll's your right tackle. And in terms of right guard, you have plenty of options. If Jaden Roberts gets back healthy, he can do it. Geno Vandemark, he can do it. Formby, he can do it. I think you have plenty of answers at right guard. But I think you have an answer at right tackle that you just need to settle in with. Yes, he's a true freshman. Yes, he will get beat. It's what happens with true freshman offensive linemen. It's fine. But if I'm Alabama, I'm going with the young guy at right tackle. I just am. As of right now, I think he's better. And this is where it gets hard. Because if you have a guy that's just as good as a guy that's been in the program for a while, but he's a true freshman, you play the young guy. You have to play the young guy. So for Alabama, the offensive line, that's an area where I think that you still need a bit to decide what you're going to do. And really, I don't think it should take any time at all. I don't think that this decision should be difficult at all. I really don't. I think Formby is a good guard. Michael Carroll's your right tackle. Let's see what people in the chat are saying. Moonrock, good to see you, saying that I have the hottest name in Alabama. Let it be known that I had it first. Brian says he agrees. Yeah, I think Formby's a good guard. I think he's a really good guard. I think the times he's gotten beat at guard is a result of Alabama playing musical chairs to the degree they have. You're doing Ty Simpson no favors. You're doing your offense no favors by doing that. You're doing your offense no favors by continuously playing this game of who's going to be where. That's the only thing I don't really get right now. I just don't understand why we are in week 6 and you're still playing this game of who's going to play where. It just doesn't make sense to me. Outside of that, there is some things we also need to talk about Alabama's offense. Alabama's offense, the past 2 weeks, has failed to capitalize on some situations that I think they should be capitalizing on. We saw it against Vandy. That game shouldn't have been as close as it was. And we saw it again this week, where they're just not capitalizing on things that I think they should be capitalizing on. Now, the flip side of that is Alabama's defense has really stepped up. Alabama's defense has stepped up when the moment is the brightest. And they're getting it done. And this was a defense that everybody was questioning. Sorry, we're trying to get something worked out on the Bleacher Report end. The defense is where I had questions. If you look around the nation, everybody had questions. They stepped up. I'll put it like this. This Missouri offense has been probably the best in college football, certainly the best in the SEC at running the ball. They had 163 yards today. But Hardy had 52. Alabama's defense did a really good job of bending without breaking. Now, the one thing that if you really want to nitpick on what Alabama's defense didn't do, I think you have to talk about that last touchdown of the game. That's one where I get the theory of what they're doing. You're wanting to play prevent, you're wanting to keep everything in front of you. They scored way too quick. They scored absolutely way too quick. And that gave me cause for concern, just in the sense of like, man, that was not ideal. But outside of that, this Alabama defense 2 weeks in a row, I think, has stepped up when the moments are big. And that's really all you can ask for. That's really all you can ask for. I apologize. We're having difficulties on the Bleacher Report end, but that's okay. That's okay. That just means we get to talk more ball, especially with those of you on YouTube. Hope everybody's been well. Tuskegee says need to get the long ball going. That's the only thing right now missing from the offense. And I saw a lot of criticism about Ryan Williams from Twitter. I don't think he's fully healthy. Clint Lamb, I believe it was. I want to give credit where it's due. I do believe it was. Yeah, Tuskegee. I'm not sure. I just actually got with the Bleacher Report people. They're looking into what's going on that end. It's not live, but we don't know why. That's okay. It'll get fixed up. They're fantastic. Listen, the people over at Bleacher Report are phenomenal. They're so great. Everybody I get to work with over there, they're awesome. They'll get it figured out. They'll get it fixed up for us. They're amazing. So I'm not worried about that. We were just talking about Ryan Williams. What I was saying there is I saw a lot of criticism on Twitter over Ryan Williams. I don't think he's fully healthy. Clint Lamb, once again, want to give credit where it's due. Clint, one of the best in the business. I don't care what team you cover, what team you're a fan of. Clint Lamb, if you want to learn football, he's unbelievable. Highly recommend. If y'all aren't following him on Twitter, do so. Do so. Great content creator, great guy. Has graced us with his presence on multiple streams. I've been able to text with him back and forth a few times. Such a humble guy, such a nice guy. But he pointed out, I believe it was Clint, that at the end of the Vandy game, it looked like Ryan Williams was a little bit hobbled, a little limping a bit. Then you see that he was doubtful at a time for this game, then probable. I don't think he's fully healthy. But for all the criticism I see of Ryan Williams, someone tweeted it, and I apologize, I forget who. Someone tweeted it that on the Isaiah Horton touchdown, Isaiah Horton scored that touchdown because Missouri's defense was so worried about Ryan Williams. The safety held to the outside where Horton was breaking to the inside. Ryan Williams was breaking to the outside. The safety over top leaned to the outside to Williams. Obviously, Williams had the defensive back, and the linebacker stepped up to try and account for Williams, leaving a perfect spot for Isaiah Horton, where he ran a beautiful route and Ty Simpson threw a beautiful ball. So this is one of the things, right? Like, if we're going to be critical of Ryan Williams, we also have to be honest. He's affecting the game when he doesn't even touch the football. He is that big of a weapon. I just don't think he's healthy right now. I don't think he's fully healthy. And this is one of those situations where you really wish Alabama had a bye. Like, after this stretch, you really wish Alabama had a bye. Because they're playing Murderer's Row right now. They are playing a gauntlet of a schedule. And it's not going to get easier. Listen, I don't care if a team is ranked or not, like a South Carolina. It's not going to get easier. Everywhere you look, there are good teams on this Alabama schedule. Everywhere. Tuskegee, I don't have any update on Meadows. He walked off the field, which of course, you know, we all saw that. That was good to see. I have no update. Prayers to him, though, for sure. That was a vicious hit. I also don't know how in the world the hit that injured Jam wasn't targeting. Like, that to me is incredible. A guy lowers his head and uses it as a weapon, and that's not targeting. I don't know what targeting is. Chris Solo, that's worrisome. Because I love Kevin Riley. I think if you all have watched me on Bleacher Report, you know how big I am on Kevin Riley. I think the kid is going to be a star. I think he's great. As great as I think Kevin Riley is, you can see a difference when Jam is in there in terms of his decisiveness, which comes with experience, right? Like that's one of the big differences. Jam's experience, it lends itself to being more decisive. Whenever he sees a crease, he's done it so long that he's like, okay, I know how to attack this. Kevin Riley's still figuring it out. Going to be fantastic. But pass pro. I mean, Jam is fantastic at pass pro. Phenomenal in pass pro. And he's just such a weapon on offense. But I don't know how that wasn't targeting. It makes no sense to me. Absolutely no sense to me. One of the other things we need to talk about on offense for Alabama is prior to the season, I made a video over on Bleacher Report, and I gave you some players on Alabama's offense you needed to watch out for. Lotzier Brooks was kind of like my number one guy. One, because I was sitting there saying, hey, you know Ryan Williams, you know Jeremy Bernard. I don't have to tell you, hey, you got to watch out for those guys. You should know them. Horton was on the list, and Horton continues to prove what a threat he is. But Lotzier Brooks was a guy that I was telling anybody that would listen. He's different. He's really, really different. And when the moment was the brightest today, Ty Simpson and Lotzier Brooks made the play of the game. A beautiful throw by Ty Simpson. But I'm going to tell you what. One of the things that I'm very blessed to have is I have access to the All-22. I get the All-22 footage from these games. Lottie Brooks is beating corners left, right, and center. And I know we see it when we're watching the TV broadcast. You flip on that All-22, he is winning routes a lot. And we are now live over on Bleacher Report. Okay, good to go. Like I said, the Bleacher Report people are the best. There's no question about that. Black Bama said Ty made a lot of mistakes too. Ty made some mistakes. That's he certainly did, but I'm not. Listen, he's a young quarterback, not in terms of age, in terms of experience. This is only his 6th start, which is crazy when you think about how good he's been. And Denzel, one of the things I talked about was prior to this going live on Bleacher Report was that when you look at win percentage rates of edge rushers in the SEC, Missouri had the number 1 and number 2 edge rushers in terms of pass sets. They were winning more than anybody else in the league. So statistically, you had your top 2 edge rushers in terms of win percentage in the SEC against Bama today. And one of the things we were talking about before we went live over here on Bleacher Report with all of you is that if this was the only game Wilkin Formby struggled in, I would actually be arguing in favor of Wilkin Formby. I'd be here telling all of you, hey, wasn't a good game. It was not a good game from him, but if you were going to struggle, this was the game to do it. Great pass rush. But this isn't a one-off. This is not a one-off for Formby. So earlier, for all those who are just joining us over on Bleacher Report, earlier, one of the things I talked about is I'm going to give you the bad and the good for Alabama's offense right now. The bad is that we are in week 6 and you're still playing musical chairs with your offensive line. The offensive line is not the defensive back room. It's not a room where you can just throw guys out there because while in every position in football you need chemistry with the guys around you, I don't know that there's a position on the football field where that chemistry matters more than the offensive line. It is of paramount importance that your offensive line have chemistry with each other. It is so important. It is so important. And you're in week 6 and you're still playing musical chairs. That's making it more difficult on every person in that offense. It's making it more difficult on the offensive line. It's making Ty Simpson's job more difficult. It's making the running backs' jobs more difficult in terms of their pass production because you have no continuity. You have no continuity. And I don't think Formby is your right tackle. I just don't think Formby's your right tackle. The good news, right? Because I always try and give you, if I give you bad, I always try and give you good. The good news, I think Michael Carroll is your right tackle. That's a guy that I thought was the best offensive lineman in the nation coming out of high school. I thought he was the best offensive lineman in the nation, regardless of position, coming out of high school. He was a guard in high school primarily. Now he's at tackle, and he looks phenomenal. He was handling those edge rushers. He is going to be great. I think you have Caden Proctor and Michael Carroll. You're talking about an unbelievable offensive line through and through. What else is good news, ladies and gentlemen, is that I'm actually not mad if Formby's guard. I don't think he's a bad guard. And I know someone's going to point me to the Vandy game where he got beat on the interior. While I acknowledge that, you're 100% right. This is where the pushback I would give you. When you look at how he got beat against Vandy, he took a step that was too far to the outside. The guy beat him to the interior. Why did he do that? Because he was playing it like he was a tackle. That is a direct result of having musical chairs being played with your offensive line. The good news for Bama, though, is if you're someone who says, I don't think he's the guard, I think Geno Vandemark is a serviceable guard. I think Wilkin Formby is a serviceable guard. And Jaden Roberts, when he's healthy, is a serviceable guard. That's the good news. The bad news is it's week 6. This has to stop. This has got to stop. Play the young guy. If he makes mistakes, cool. He's a freshman. It will happen. That's fine. But as of right now, I think he's better. I think Michael Carroll is better than Wilkin Formby, and he's better as a true freshman. And I don't think that that's necessarily downing Wilkin Formby. I think Michael Carroll is special. He is a future first-round draft pick. He is special. How many of you saw that picture whenever he was in high school and he was standing next to Landon Dickerson? He made Landon Dickerson look small. The guy is special. Michael Carroll is a special talent. Play him at right tackle. If he gets beat, he gets beat, but he will be better for it. And what you do at guard, I think you have a lot of options. That's the good news. Another negative for Alabama's offense, once again, if you're over on YouTube, you've heard me say this. But for Bleacher Report, the other negative is Alabama is not capitalizing on drives the way that I think that they should be. They're not capitalizing on drives the way they should be. And it's certainly not Ty Simpson's fault. As I just put out into the chat, is Ty Simpson a first-round quarterback? I want to hear y'all's thoughts on that. I think the answer is an overwhelming yes. I think it is an overwhelming yes to that. But Alabama's offense has left a lot of points on the field. It was last week. It was this week. You're talking 2 games that really, whenever they go back, they're going to be mad, which maybe is a good thing. One of the only positives here, ladies and gentlemen, is if you're sitting here looking at the situation saying Alabama left meat on the bone, right? Alabama left meat on the bone. But next week you go and play yet another ranked team in Tennessee. This isn't a game where Alabama exits and feels great about themselves. Is this a great win? Yes, but this is not a game where Alabama should be exiting this game and saying, oh, we got this in the bag. We're high and mighty Bama now. No. No. That is not how this should go. Alabama should be exiting this game and saying, 2 weeks in a row we've played with food. One of these days, food's going to play with us. That's got to be cleaned up. That has got to be cleaned up. So there is a positive there, especially when you look at the slate of games Alabama has in front of them, where they have Tennessee, then South Carolina, who I don't care if South Carolina is unranked. That's still a tough game. You have LSU. You have Oklahoma. 2 back to, like, this is murderer's row. This is murderer's row right here. This is a really tough stretch. This is an incredibly tough stretch. And EO boy, you're right. They are coming off of a bye. And I have a question for all of you, right? Because this is one of the things we talked about on YouTube. What team in college football has had a better 3-week stretch than Alabama? Beating Georgia on the road, ending their home win streak, getting revenge against Vandy, who's a good team, and then ending another home win streak against Mizzou. 2 ranked road wins in 3 weeks. 3 ranked wins in 3 weeks. They are the hottest team in college football right now. And the beautiful thing about that, are they, Bama? Bama grad Matt says playing, well, good. I'm glad they're not coming off of a bye. But the good news for Alabama, you don't exit this game and pat yourself on the back saying we did so good. You don't. You just don't. This is a game that they could have really, I think they could have had 2 to 3 more touchdowns. But at the end of the day, I think that might be a positive. Because last year, complacency was a big problem for the Tide. That is not the case right now because you don't exit this game saying, oh, we just beat the brakes off them. You should have. You didn't because you didn't capitalize. You didn't capitalize on turnovers when you should have on defense. You didn't capitalize on points the way you should have on offense. But at the end of the day, winning is winning. And in the great words of American poet, internationally renowned poet, Dominic Toretto, winning is winning. It does not matter if you win by an inch or you win by a mile. Remember that for the family. I bring that up. I bring that to all of your attention because Alabama is finding ways to win. EO boy, you're right. It shouldn't have been. Just like Vandy shouldn't have been close. But in a way, I'm happier that Alabama is winning this way than if they just walked into Mizzou's house, blew them out, and then were thinking to themselves, "Oh yeah, we're hot right now. We're the best." No, you cannot exit these 2 weeks thinking that. You can exit these 2 weeks thinking, "Hey, I believe in the guys next to me because when it gets gritty, we're here fighting." That's awesome. That's a great thing to learn about yourself. So that's a real positive. But you can't let complacency creep in. You just can't. You haven't played that well. So that's a beautiful thing. That's actually a beautiful thing. Let's take a look at the offensive stats before we take a look at the defense. Ty Simpson, 23 of 31, 200 yards, 6.5 average, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Had his second turnover of the year this year. Really, he said they were talking about this on the sideline where he was telling Caden Proctor, that's on me. And Caden Proctor was like, that's not on you. It wasn't. I'm going to be very honest with you. It wasn't. Jam Miller, 20 carries, 85 yards against a really good Missouri defensive front. Really good Missouri defensive front. Loved what I saw from Jam. I really hope he's okay because he is huge for this offense. He is huge for this offense. His presence makes them so much better. His pass pro, his decisiveness. I love Kevin Riley as well, but Jam Miller is that guy. When we look at the wide receivers, guys, if you were here before the season, I told everybody that would listen, everybody, that Lotzier Brooks was a problem. How he was a 3-star, I will never know. Lottie Brooks is a problem. And as I was saying before we went live, yes, it was, EO boy. Yes, it was. Yes. As I was saying before we went live, whenever you watch the game on TV, you can see Brooks is open. I'm blessed in that I have access to all 22 footage. So after these games, I sit down and I watch all 22 of the Bama game and of any game I'm kind of curious about. When you have that and you can really see everything that's going on, it's unbelievable how often this guy wins routes. Unbelievable. If Bama starts getting the deep passing attack going, he's going to be a menace. They didn't, EO boy. You're 100% right. I was really happy to see Shepard out there because they eased up. They were winning early, then they eased up, and it's a great thing when you have a Ryan Grubb, when you have a Shep, when you have a Mo Linguist. Because Kalen DeBoer is very nice. He's a different style of coach, one that I'm not mad at, as long as you have a Shepard, a Grubb, a Mo Linguist, who they're going to wait until Kalen DeBoer is out of earshot, and then they're going to light into you. You got to have that. You got to have that. Lottie Brooks, leading receiver, 4 receptions, 58 yards. Isaiah Horton, 3 receptions, 34 yards. One of the positives here is that you went through this game Jeremy Bernard had 3 catches for 20 yards. Ryan Williams wasn't a factor in this game in terms of catching the ball, but before anybody says anything about Ryan Williams, go back, watch the Isaiah Horton touchdown. He scores that touchdown because of Ryan Williams. How, you may ask? Because even when Ryan Williams isn't getting the ball, defenses are accounting for him. The safety stayed in place, allowing Horton to get underneath and inside. The linebacker went to follow Ryan Williams, and the safety stayed where he did because Ryan Williams was going out and Horton was going in. And I'm going to be very honest. I have no information on this. I think Ryan Williams is hurt. His get-off didn't look the same today. So once he's back healthy, he will be the star we all know him to be. I have full faith in him. He is still an unbelievable player. No doubt about it. So now let's flip over to the defense. We have some arguments in the Bleacher Report chat about Alabama's defense. So my first question. Are you happy with Alabama's defense? And I'm going to say yes. I've been very critical of this defense. But by and large, I think that the defense did pretty well. This is a Missouri offense that runs the ball as well as any team in the nation. Yes, they had 163 yards, but Hardy had 52. And once again, it's one of those situations where Alabama, for 90% of the game, their run defense is pretty good. But then it's the big explosive runs that are really padding the stats in favor of teams playing Alabama right now. Because Bo Pribula had a run for 23. Hardy only had one for 11, but Jamal Roberts had one for 39. That's 73 yards right there in 3 runs. 73 yards in 3 runs. They had 163 on the day. You do a better job at that, you're looking at 90 yards. That's what I mean when I say right now, if we just look at the stats, it's a little misleading without being misleading because, yes, Alabama has a problem at missing a fit, allowing a big run to burst. It's a problem. The flip side of that is 90% of the time, they're much better against the run than they're given credit for. It's just they have those lapses. And the big plays spring from those lapses. If they can get better at that, it's going to be great. Alabama had an interception, should have had 2. Should have had 2 interceptions. But at the end of the day, your true freshman cornerback is playing unbelievable football. And Ira, you're 100% right. Missouri did have that bye, another week to prepare for Alabama, which is why I said Alabama right now, name me another team that has a more impressive 3-week stretch than Alabama. Georgia on the road, Vandy at home, 2 ranked, on the road again against Missouri, ranked, and they're coming off of a bye. 3 ranked wins in as many weeks. That's incredible. That is incredible. Alabama forced fumbles. They didn't recover them. They forced a fumble on Pribula. They forced a fumble for Hardy. Didn't recover any of them, which sucks, but it is what it is. Alabama had 2 sacks, 2 tackles for loss. LT Overton, I thought, played really well. Keon Keeley played really well. And I'm not going to lie to y'all. Yonze Pierre is becoming a problem for offenses right in front of our face. I was really curious and, dare I say, worried whenever Quay Russaw went out with injury, because I was sitting there thinking Yonze Pierre has proved to be a premier pass rusher. But is he an every down player yet? I don't know the answer to that. I don't know. Yonze Pierre is showing right now he is ready, and he's getting better. He's playing really good football. London Simmons is a phenomenal football player. This staff's ability to evaluate is unbelievable. Unbelievable. London Simmons, great get. Dejon Lee, great get. Caleb Edwards, the tight end, already playing, great get. Lottie Brooks, great get. I mean, they are hitting at a real impressive rate, this current staff on their recruiting. A real impressive rate. I thought Alabama's defense played well. I'm not going to lie. I see that it's 60-40. Most of you are not happy with Alabama's defense, and I understand it. I do. But I also think when we look at this game, outside of that last drive, which wasn't good, I grant you that. No arguments from me on that last drive where Missouri scored quickly. That was bad. Outside of that, guys, the defense gave the offense so many chances to put this game away. I can't in good faith put this on the defense. I think Kane Womack has done a much better job. I think he's done a much better job. This was a really good offense. This was a really good team. Bama Grad has a great point right here. He says, there's ample room for improvement. Sure. We just held Missouri, Vanderbilt, Georgia to their season lows in back-to-back-to-back weeks. Very impressive. Those are all top 25 teams. On top of that, our number in turnover difference. Yeah. That hurts, Bama Grad. That hurts bad. He played Tuskegee. Tim Keenan played. He played well. He had some good moments. So I think if you're Alabama, there's a lot that you're not going to like about this game. And I'm going to be very honest, I'm actually happy that that's the case. When you look at the schedule ahead, I would much rather Alabama be in a position where they're not very happy with how things have gone than an Alabama team thinking they're on top of the world whenever you have Tennessee, you have South Carolina, you have LSU, you have Oklahoma, you have, Bishop Sycamore after that, but thank God. And then you have Auburn. Anybody saying, oh, well, the SEC schedules those late season games that are just, bad, sure. And I'm not mad at it when you went from Wisconsin to Georgia to Vandy to Missouri to Tennessee to South Carolina, LSU, Oklahoma, and then you finish with Auburn. Come on, man. Like, that is murderer's row. That is a really tough schedule. So I'd rather Alabama exit this game thinking, okay, we can get better. We have to be better. That's a good thing. Complacency killed them last year. I don't know that will be the case this year. I agree completely, yo boy. You want that game back bad, because out of all the losses Alabama had last year, OU and Tennessee were probably the most painful. I say OU not because the OU was just a weird team last year because they were so injured. They weren't as bad as everybody was making them out to be. They were just so injured. But it was the game plan in OU that made absolutely no sense. Absolutely no sense. And then Tennessee, because that was, I don't think I've ever seen, well, I don't want to say ever, but I can't name 5 or 6 football games that I thought were more winnable that I watched a team not win in that Tennessee game last year. Most winnable game that they didn't win, I can remember seeing. Field goal kicking needs to improve. Yeah, listen, but hey, we're back, Benjamin. Whenever Bama was running the table, getting those big, dynasty level national championships where it was back to back, they couldn't kick a field goal to save their lives. So we're back. We're back in the driver's seat, and I'm here for it. Womack is playing everybody. I just hate that they're still shuffling. Tuskegee, you're better than me. I was so hurt after that game. I got a really nice cigar. There was a really big UFC fight last year as well. I lit up that cigar. I didn't care. You're not keeping me from that cigar. Because y'all decided not to show up. I don't get to enjoy my cigar. Nope. Awesome, Bama grad. Awesome. What kind of cigars did y'all get? Glad you're going to the game, man. Hope you and your brother have a good time. Tell your brother we said happy birthday. Whopper on YouTube says we dominated this game and somehow won by 3. Whopper, I've said this a few times, but I actually kind of prefer that when you look at the stretch Alabama has in front of them. You can't be complacent because you can't be happy. You can be happy you got the win. A ranked Missouri team who's really good. You ended their home win streak in their house. You can feel good about winning, but you can't feel great about the performance. You look at that tape and say, man, we've got a lot to improve on. I actually kind of like that you exit the game with that. EO Boy says, can we talk about what Jackson was? I have no idea. And if you've watched me, Hemingway, very nice, very nice. Very nice. I'm probably going to have some Placencias over at the house for that game. I just actually ordered the Tatuaje Monster Smash box. Have those in the humidor. Have some My Father Blues. I'm probably going to get into some of those tonight. But anyways, back to Jackson and that. If you've watched me on YouTube, on here, you'll know how high I am on Damani Jackson. And he's going to be a fascinating study come draft time because in coverage, I know he gave up a big pass today. All cornerbacks are going to give up big passes. That's just the nature of the game. In pass coverage, most of the time, teams aren't looking his way. They just aren't. He's been automatic. He's been really good in that department. But he has been such a liability in the run game that I'm fascinated what the NFL is going to do whenever they're scouting. Where do you place him? He's got first-round ability in terms of coverage, but it's the tackling. The only thing I can rationalize, EO Boy, is that he thought Hubbard, the only thing I can rationalize is Hubbard didn't completely go for the interception because he thought Damani was going to lay a kill shot. Damani didn't go for a kill shot because he thought Hubbard was about to pick off the ball and he didn't want to get a flag. That is the only thing I can rationalize. That's it. And the more I watched it, the more I was like, I think that's exactly what happened. But you don't have to lay the kill shot. Grab him. Just grab the guy. Bray's right there. You two can force him out of bounds. All good. That's the only thing I can think. That is it, EO Boy, is that he thought Hubbard's going to intercept this, so I'm not going to just deliver a kill shot. And then I think Hubbard was probably thinking, I got Damani behind me. He's probably going for the ball or the kill shot, and I don't want to be cannon fodder. That's it. That's the only thing I can think. Hartley, as much as it pains me to admit this, you are kind of right. There are some times where it's just like Hubbard will make a play and I'm like, man, that doesn't look like Bray Hubbard. And then the rest of the game, it's like, oh yeah, there's Bray Hubbard. Yeah, there he is. There he goes. It's not an excuse, Glenn. I just think that's what happened. I'm not excusing it. I don't know how you would have gotten that out of the analysis. I'm just telling. He asked what I thought happened. I'm saying what I thought happened. In no way, shape, or form did I say, "Oh, it's okay." That's not what I said. I just said what I thought happened. Yeah, Khalid, that's all I can think is that two players thought the other guy was about to make a play. Neither of them ended up making a play. And you can't have that. Because that's the difference in a game, honestly. That's the difference in the game. So Damani is going to be a fascinating study come draft time. Because his coverage is so good, but the run and stuff like that, it's just weird. It's going to be really interesting. Angel Garcia on YouTube says, I felt Simmons was highly underrated out of high school. I agree, man. He's playing fantastic football. Fantastic football. He looks like he's next. Tuskegee, so listen, when I was saying that about Bray, I don't think that he checks out per se, where he's like taking a play off. He'll just make kind of a head-scratching play. So one of the first big runs, right? One of the first big runs that Mizzou got, Yonze Pierre did his job. Bray Hubbard was supposed to set the edge, and he dove inside with Pierre. He was supposed to be the fill guy. Yonze was crashing, and they both crashed, and then they broke it for a big run. He'll have a play like that where it's just like, man, your eyes were in the wrong place. And then the rest of the game, he's just playing unbelievable football, which I suppose that's natural. Like Benjamin said, I wouldn't trade him for anything. Such a good player. So clutch. So at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, Bama goes 3 weeks, 3 ranked wins. I think Ty Simpson is not only a first-round quarterback, I think he's your Heisman leader right now. Because 3 ranked wins in 3 weeks is insane. Like, what other quarterback can say that right now? Nobody. Playing the way he's playing, carving up defenses. And when the moment was the brightest, that throw to Lottie Brooks was magic. And the throw to Horton for that touchdown was magic. I mean, those were 2 just beautiful throws. He should be your Heisman favorite right now. He should be on everybody's big board as a first-round quarterback. You love to see it. On the defense, Bama grad, I'm not going to lie to you, man. I'm not really into sports betting, so I would hate to give you sport betting advice. I'm not really into sports betting. It's one of those things where the more I watch football and the more like I study the All-22, the less inclined I've become to betting because I realize like, oh man, I still have so much to learn. And I'm not, I can't even be honest and be like, hey, I know all about like when Vegas is almost trying to tip their hand. I don't know that stuff. So I don't want to be the guy to give you betting advice. Tuskegee, you're right. The only thing he really needs to get better on is getting the ball away. That's it. But he has that Bryce thing, man, where he's made so many magical plays that he just like, if that's how we die, that's how we die. You know, that is what it is. At the end of the week, though, you got to be happy with the win. I don't think you have to be ecstatic about the performance. I think there was a lot of meat left on the bone that you 2 weeks in a row, a lot of meat left on the bone. You got to be better there. But 3 ranked wins in the SEC, 2 of them on the road. You don't trade that for anything. Bama's playing as well as anybody in the country right now, and people wrote them off too soon. Bama's not dead. Bama's here. They've got a murderer's row in front of them, and they can win every game on their schedule. They absolutely can. So thank you all for tuning in. Yeah, Benjamin, that was an absolute dime. Absolute dime. Thank you all for tuning in. We will be live. We won't be live. We will be releasing a video on Monday breaking down this game after I've rewatched it, talking about what went well, what didn't go well. We'll be live on Thursday. Once again, not live, but you get what I mean. We'll be releasing a video Thursday talking about Bama, Tennessee, giving you the matchups you need to watch out for, giving my prediction. And as always, roll tide. See you next time.